Welcome to Life Mosaic, where we explore the living legacy that connects generations for a lifetime and beyond. Here, life is all inclusive, embracing every moment and memory that shapes who we are. We're not just sharing people's stories, we are celebrating the timeless bond that weaves our lives together, transcending time and space. Join us as we uncover the beautiful mosaic of life. These Olympics have come to a close. Did you watch any of it?
I really did not watch much. I caught a little bit of the opening ceremony because I kind of like to see what they do with the special effects and all that. But nope, I'm not really big into the sports. I think I was flipping through the channels and caught some of the swimming. But yeah, I don't. It's not anything I'm interested in until NASCAR racing becomes an Olympic sport. I'm probably not going to watch it.
You're a NASCAR fan? I did not know that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, that's cool. Well, but talk I'm gonna go back there because you said something and I have to ask this because it was kind of a head scratcher for me in because I did actually watch a lot of the Olympics, but did you know that in swimming that they changed synchronized swimming into art artful performance swimming or something like that? I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, I was watching just the main, well, I don't even know what, this tells you how awful I am with
Did you watch men
sports.
or women swimming up and down the lanes?
Um, I don't remember.
What is the new name of synchronized swimming?
Didn't you just say that?
I'm asking Google.
Oh, I was about to say that. What the
Uh,
heck would I
it's
know?
called artistic swimming is the proper name for it. So,
What's
but
wrong with
but you
synchronize? Is that a bad word now? Do we have to cancel culture it?
no, it's not that it's canceled or anything like that. The reason they changed the name from synchronized swimming to artistic swimming is because synchronized doesn't talk about all of the prep that goes into it. It doesn't shut you're just thinking about the timing that the precision that goes into it. This also includes the athleticism that goes into that. Say that word 5 times fast and your tongue will screw up just like mine did. And but the athletic part that goes into it, the strength that and it just gives a lot more meaning into the sport is why they did that. Well, it's artistic choreography that
Yeah.
goes into it. And yes, there is the timing, but synchronicity is, syncing up of time, where this is more encapsulating to
You-
everything that goes into the sport.
You're using big words, synchronicity, and what was that one before?
I like to use my 50-cent words every once in a while, Rich.
I listened to 50 Cents, but I'm
50 he doesn't even say 50 cents, it's 50
it is
cent, right?
50 cents.
But anyway, I don't usually watch the Olympics. I could usually give about two hoots about it. I did watch a lot of the Olympics. I don't know why, but right from the get-go, there was just things captured my imagination. Also, I have to say, we did not watch it, a lot of it on NBC at the time it was scheduled. We happened to have Peacock and so we were able to watch what we wanted to watch versus what we were fed that the network fed out to us. So we got to see some different events that weren't televised on TV, major TV. So that was kind of cool too.
Yeah, I like
But
that they're streaming now because that way you can pick what you want to watch. You don't have to just be on a certain channel at a certain time or record it on your DVR. You can just go on there and find what you like and watch it.
yeah. And and there was some good controversies that came up and they were they were good controversies of the Olympics itself, not the opening ceremony. Don't even want to touch
Yeah,
that
we're
subject.
not gonna go there.
But in gymnastics, there was some controversy. In track, there was some controversy, and some other things. It was just, rulings that needed. The thing is they need. It was refinement of the rules that needed to happen anyway. So it was just brought to light. So I'm still following some of those stories on news feeds now. But, Rich, now that the Olympics are finished, we're moving straight into football season. Hoo-ha. Yeah, that's about as excited as I get about football. But at my house, we have been watching preseason games, and now regular season is starting. And, it's football season. And that kind of, do you even follow football yourself?
Well, that goes to our meme of the week that we have for each show, our meme of the show. And Wheezy, this couldn't be more fitting for me. It's got animated characters in a train or a bus. I don't know what it is. Is it a train or a bus? Something with
They're
multiple.
on some sort of mass
Yeah, they're on
transportation. Let's
some
put it that
sort
way.
of mass transportation. And on the one side, it's got the guy smiling. It says on the caption, "Football fans looking forward to football season starting." And then you have the guy on the other side that looks awful and upset. And it says, "Football haters dreading football season starting." So
Well,
I would be the guy on the side of the football haters.
you would be the one with the frowny face,
I
but
would.
if you look deeper into that picture, Rich, which if you want to see the picture, you can find it over on our show notes on lifemosaic.me. But the guy on the hater side, he's looking out the window and everything's dark and dreary and everything. And then
Yeah.
the little guy on the other side, who's the football lover, oh, it's just beautiful and it's picturesque mountains and stuff on his side. And he's like all excited in his face. So the guys in my house are the guys that are looking out on the sunny side. And I'm kind of in between. It's like I could give or take it. So when football's on at my house, I either go find something else to do or I like to read. So it gives me an opportunity to pop open a book and read it on my phone.
Yeah, the only sport I really like is NASCAR, and of course that's a good answer for someone Southern that grew up in the Carolinas. But anyway,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, we always followed NASCAR, and for some reason it just connected with me. Even as a kid, I collected the NASCAR diecast cars and met a couple of drivers and went to races and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, football was also on as well. My father was always watching football, but for some reason, we never connected on football. But when the race was on, we were both in there cheering on our favorite drivers, and we still do. We've had an argument, or not really an argument, but a difference of
Difference of opinion.
a difference of opinion of some stuff that happened in the last NASCAR race. So we still talk about that. Dad grew up in Western North Carolina, and back in his day was really when the sport was starting to become a big deal, and he remembers working at his uncle's gas station, the NASCAR drivers in their vehicles. Now the big old haulers take everything where they go, but they actually drove their race car to get gas there at the gas station on to their next stop. So
Oh, wow.
he
That's
met a
cool.
lot of them, and a lot of them drove races. It no longer exists anymore, which is sad because it was a historic racetrack. But the Asheville, Weaverville, North Carolina racetrack that Richard Petty, all the big folks sort of started
Well,
in
that
no
sounds
track.
like a great story for another podcast, Rich, and we'll dive into some of the origins of NASCAR.
There we go. And it's also would be nice if some of those old drivers that have gone on, if they could have left a living legacy video like that you are good at, they could have left something for their families and even their fans to have.
Yeah. Rich, now that people listening to our podcast, you're just going to have to excuse us. Sometimes Rich and I kind of go a little, we're like a dog. We see a squirrel, we're going to chase after it. So, we got talking about NASCAR, but it's okay because today we're going to really talk about football, but it's not really the game of football. It's some things that my friend did for the team behind the scenes. So today, Rich and I welcome Roger Cullis to our podcast. In 1995, the Carolina Panthers started their inaugural season. There's another one of those 50-cent words. It's hard to say. Inaugural season,
Inaugural.
Rich. Um, but anyways, the franchise. What I'm trying to say, I was trying to be fancy, but this was the first year that the Panthers played. They got picked up into the franchise of the NFL. This was the first year they played, and they were led onto the field by head coach Dom Capers.
It's 1995, and there's great excitement in Charlotte, North Carolina. Finally, the deal is done, the team has been chosen, and it's the inaugural season for the Carolina Panthers in the National Football League. Today's guest is here to show how he worked with some of the team members during those early days. Roger worked closely with some of those team members as their public relations and personal manager.
So, Roger, welcome to Life Mosaic. I have a feeling you're going to add much color to our podcast today as you share about your years with some of the team members of the Carolina Panthers in their inaugural year, 1995-96, as a move into the NFL League. Okay, so today we are here with our guest Roger Cullis and Zoe. If you hear any little panting noises in the background,
It's
now
not me.
it's not Raj because we are doing this in person, this interview. But my little dog Zoe, she thinks she has to be the director today and sit on my lap, and so she might be panting just a little bit. So you're just going to have to excuse our noises. Yes, okay, no more kissing. It's 1995, and there was great excitement in Charlotte, North Carolina. Finally, a deal is done. A team has been chosen, and it's the inaugural season for the Carolina Panthers in the National Football League. Today's guest is here to share how he worked with some of the team members during those early days. Welcome to Roger Cullis. Thank you for coming today, Roger.
Thank you for having me. We went through hell and high water to do this, but
We definitely had some technical difficulties, but here we are doing the interview in person and recording this. The reason I'm having Roger today is because he's got a good story. He was with the Panthers from the very beginning, and he worked close with some of the team members as their public relations and personal manager. So, Raj, welcome to Life Mosaic, and I have a feeling you are going to add much color to our podcast as you share about your years working with some of the team members of the Carolina Panthers.
some colors might not be included in today's show.
Ah. So, Raj, tell us a little bit about yourself. I know you're not native to Carolina, so how did you land here and how did you start up with the team?
Well, short story long. I was born in Maine. My dad was in the Air Force. I was born on Loring Air Force Base. Stayed there for a few years. Was there for the wonderful Cuban Missile Crisis,
Oh, okay.
and we were a strategic air command base loaded with nuclear loaded B-52s. So that was fun. And then we moved down to New York, where a lot of my dad's family were. First stop was Lake George. We lived there for a year, so my dad could kind of acclimate himself because he's a career guy. He spent 22 years in the Air Force, and It was fun
You
living
need
in
a
New
little buffer between Air Force and regrouping with family.
Getting back to reality. From there, we moved down to Long Island, New York, which is just east of Manhattan for folks who might not be familiar with it. I had two aunts that lived there, and I had one that lived in New Jersey. So our family was well, my dad's nuclear family was slowly getting closer again.
Hmm.
He went to work for Grumman, and that's basically where I grew up. Got into cars, got into music, got into sports.
Girls.
Yeah,
Yeah.
next on the list, got into trouble. But it was a good childhood. It was a good time in America. Uh, I grew up through the 60s and 70s, and kids were able to be kids. You didn't end up on a milk carton. I mean, it was such a different world. I wish we could go back to
So you were in New York, and but today we're talking about you working here in the Carolinas. How did you come to Carolinas from New York?
it was a slow accumulation of adult crap.
Oh, don't we all have some of those periods of our life?
Yeah, once I got out of school and started entering into the adult world, started running into things like rush hour traffic. And I was on Long Island, which is a long, thin island, and there's a main expressway that went down the middle of it, and everybody was on it at the same time as everybody else, and it was nicknamed the world's longest parking lot. My marriage was, let's just say, it was,
Dissolving?
yeah, yeah, it was heading south quickly, and and the people I worked with. I mean, I liked the people, but the people who ran the place, they think the people that work for them are stupid. Like, people don't talk. They came out with the thing and they said, well, there's going to be no raises this year, and there's no bonuses, no company car, like this list of stuff. And I knew the two main salesmen that hung out with the president of the company and always played golf with him. They were still getting all that,
Yeah.
you know.
So it was just time for a change.
Yeah, I went in there and I just told him, I said, exactly what are your plans for me? And he gave me a little soft shoe act, and I said, consider this my 2 weeks notice. And then I walked out of there and I was like, what the hell am I going to do now?
Yeah.
Because everybody knows me as a planner, a list maker, and, check things off. And this is just, I just went totally rogue. And I said, well, that's it. This is my notice. And then it popped in my head that I don't know anybody, where I'm planning on going, and I don't have any job interviews set up. I don't know anybody at any company down there. I'm just going down there on total faith.
So you've quit your job in New York and you're talking about moving here to the Carolinas. Was there anybody here, or was there any prospects of anything here in the Carolinas for you, or you just came cold?
Well, my parents were the first ones down here, so I figured, well, there's somebody in the area.
Yeah.
Should I blow my toe off or something? And other than that, and they're retired, so they were exactly a source of you know, job opportunity referrals and
Hmm.
stuff. So I basically had to go out there and wing it.
How did you end up connecting with the Panthers franchise?
I pulled into Rock Hill, South Carolina, which at the time was the team's, and I didn't know this, but it's just, and that's why I figured maybe fate had something to do with some of the decisions I made. The first year of the Panthers, they had their temporary headquarters there, the front offices, the locker room, training facility, practice fields were down at Winthrop College.
Oh, okay.
So I heard that and I figured, well, let me go down there. I like football, and let, let me see what team I've adopted. And when I went out there, when I was living in New York, I had casually met on occasion Mike Fox and Carlton Bailey.
Okay.
And at the time, I didn't know they just signed them. They picked them up from the Giants. And I'm standing there and I hear, Oh, hey, Raj. And I turn around and said, and it's Mike Fox, 6'8", 340 pound defensive end.
Just a little guy, huh?
Yeah. And he's a nice guy. I think, and Mike, I think the world of you if you should happen to be listening to this. Um, but at various times in my relationship with him, I think he took some bad advice from some people. Uh, he's from Ohio, and he brought his best friend down from Ohio to be a general manager of this company. I guess you can call it a corporation that had several little companies in it. And he trusted him. He didn't even.
So is so just to clarify, this was kind of like Mike Fox's own little company of stuff
Yeah, it was
that
his.
it was kind of his brand. He's the football player, but he's branding off of this, or
It's a bunch of things, and I think it was kind of like knowing that, who knows how long I'm going to be playing. I could tear my knee up in the next game. So
yeah.
he was trying to build. So he had like Mike Fox Limousine. He had Fox Environmental. He had his Mike Fox Charitable Foundation, which handled scholarship and awards for kids who show achievement. Um, which also I was part of the public relations things I dealt with, like communities and schools in the Charlotte area, because we worked with them to give out scholarships. My Zone Sportswear, which he had me start from scratch, and at that time, the only thing I knew about sportswear is you wear it.
Yeah.
But it's once you sit down and you look at the process, it becomes natural. You just have to look after it and make sure things are being taken care of, and eventually it'll take care of itself.
So here you land, you know Carlton Bailey and Mike Fox from their days, from your previous positions that you had in jobs that you
More as a fan, because I
a
would be out
fan.
at the Meadowlands to watch the Giants,
Okay.
and after the game, you'd catch up with them, and
Okay. Being that super fan in New York, you got to come to know Carlton Bailey and Mike Fox. Uh, so before we get into your story of how did you work with them, this is back in the 90s. So, not all of us know every player on every team, what positions they play.
a lot of people weren't even born
And a lot of people weren't even born yet. You had befriended these guys. What positions? And now here they are in the Carolinas. What positions did they play for the team?
Uh, Carlton was a linebacker, and he played middle linebacker, or as they say in in pro football parlance, he played Mike. He played the Mike linebacker, the middle linebacker. Um, Mike Fox, he played defensive end.
You start off working with Carlton Bailey. What were some of the things that you did with him?
I set up appearances for him. I was the go between whoever wanted him to
So
make
you
it.
were kind of like his public relations manager?
I guess in that would be the most closest term,
Yeah, it's a closest term that somebody would understand what you're and
and that covers the legal stuff.
and so so you were like public relations personal manager?
Yeah, and I also worked on local endorsements for him,
Mm-hmm.
because he did his agent was just between him and the team,
Okay.
negotiating his playing
So
contract.
so you worked with them. They had their team people, and then you kind of helped them in their things that were outside of the team.
Right. And I don't mean this in a derogatory way. It's just the way it is. A lot of pro athletes aren't good at doing things by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So he has the team scheduling his team related appearances and other stuff that they need him to do. And then anything outside of that was left to Carlton. And that's just too many details for
Well, I mean, they have a lot going on in their life
yeah.
that they really need other people to come and help guide them. We're not islands, and we don't know everything. So
And I also worked on endorsements. the Charlotte area franchisee, Burger King, commercial, and a few others like that. Like, some of them are like, Chrysler and Burger King were pretty good brands.
Yeah.
And Mike was like, I'm gonna bring him over into my building and, and see if maybe he can shake some things up. So he made me an offer. Carlton was cool with it, and I'd stay friends with Carlton. And I went to work for Mike, and we did the My Zone Sports, and we did all the charitable stuff, and we had fun. We did a lot of good promotional work. And
Mm-hmm.
Coca-Cola is another one. I had a big one with Coca-Cola and Mike. What was his name? Robert Smith. It sounds like such a generic name, but Robert Smith was one of the guys in promotions over at Coca-Cola here in Charlotte, and they teamed up with him to do a promotion, and the grand prize at the end of the season, they'd give him all kinds of stuff. They would be introduced to every member of the Panthers. So that fell on me. So after the game, I brought them down to the west entrance, the main area where a lot of the people congregate and the reporters interview, do post game interviews, and it fell to me because if it was Mike, introducing the players would be that's Frank, that's 19. He was not good on names, so I didn't mind. It was fun, and I think the family that won really had a great time. And this was at that early stage of the Panthers where, I mean, it was a business, but it wasn't quite a business yet.
Mm-hmm.
It was still a lot of family, and it was looser. And then of course with 9/11, everything got tighter and
So in the early days, the stadium was still under construction in Charlotte. Winthrop is not a huge university there in Rock Hill, South Carolina. So where did the Panthers play their games?
this little university out in the western upstate of South Carolina, Clemson.
Oh, who's ever heard of that?
I don't know. They have a few players in the league.
That's the wrong orange team in this household. But anyway, we won't hold that against the Panthers, because the other one's too far away, and the other one's in a state that wouldn't be cohesive with Carolinas. But okay, so they had to scrimp and play down at Clemson. So what was the team like in the early days?
They're a bunch of overaged frat boys.
Okay.
When you're all hanging out together and it's a social situation, they can have some fun.
Uh-huh.
But when it came down to a game, they were like, what do you call it? Method actors. They're just focused.
They got right into their positions and their play. They got down to business, to what they were there
Oh
for.
yeah.
Okay. And so this was like 1995, 1996.
Yeah, 1995 was the Clemson season, and 96 was the first season in the new stadium.
Okay. So this being maybe you already answered this, but I'm going to ask this question anyways. Being a young startup team, what were the road trips like?
The road trips that I went on, I transported myself because, insurance purposes, non-team,
Right.
when they were playing at Clemson, the team had to take team buses out there,
Mm-hmm.
and there were two buses, and it was kind of a weird way to see if people had split up in cliques, or if they would, eventually just get on whatever bus. And, they wanted to create a family situation, and it's a long ride. And the ride back was crazy with the traffic. But they had like the pizza bus and the Kentucky Fried Chicken bus. And then they had one bus that had Westerns and that kind of videotapes. Another one had action films and that. So
Oh, so like the buses were like themed.
not intentionally, but that's how it worked out.
Okay.
What am I hungry for? I'll get on that bus. Or, what movies are playing? Okay, they got those three movies. Oh, you got that? I'm on this bus.
Okay.
And there's just so much stuff it's like a bottleneck of memories that are like trying to get through this one little hole. But like even when like after practice and the sports guys were in there and they're doing interviews, and at this time there was talk about, every year each team picks a man of the year for a person
Mhm.
who excels on the field and off the field, and then one out of the 32 is picked as the man of the year,
Right.
and they're talking to wide receiver Willie Green, and he's sitting there, taking his socks off and stuff, and says, "Oh, Willie, a lot of people are doing charitable things, with that man of the year in mind. Uh, do you have any charitable things that you're involved with?" He goes, "Yeah." He goes, "I devote all my energies towards the Willie Green Foundation." He goes, "Really, Willie Green Foundation? Who do they support?" Willie Green Foundation supports Willie Green.
So that kind of took him out of contention, I guess, a little bit, didn't it?
Yeah, he lost a couple points on that.
Uh, so I'm going to come back and talk about Carlton and Mike in a little bit, but I want to stick with things going on with the team for this part of the interview. Um, so it's in the first season, and the team really ended up having a great season. 7-9 was their record for that year. Tell us, just what was that first win like?
It was ecstatic. It yeah, it was ecstatic because that they had a good team, because I mean they were close in every game. It was like, a missed field goal or a
Uh-huh.
stupid penalty that, where they didn't win. And this game I remember it because it's on my wedding anniversary. It was October 15th, and I was sitting at about the 30-yard line, about fourth row back, and Panthers were playing the Steelers, and Bubby Brister was the quarterback for the team. They snap the ball, and he drops back, and Brister goes to shovel pass it to his running back, and Sam Mills ran in between them and grabbed the ball and ran it in for the winning touchdown.
Oh, wow.
The place lost their mind. The Richardson family, they were down, in the crowd in the concession souvenir area, shaking hands and taking congratulations from the fans. It was a special time,
Yeah.
especially when you think that this is an NFL team and this is their first win. Like, that's pretty monumental.
Yeah, yeah, because well, it sounds like when the Panthers formed the team, they didn't just get like kids fresh out of school. They had some really good seasoned players on the team when they put the team together.
Yeah, it was a combination thing. First of all, um, Jerry Richardson,
Who's
uh,
Jerry Richardson? Just so
Jerry Richardson was the original owner of the team. He started it, did all the paperwork and did all the stumping and to all the other cities and everything to allow us to become
hmm.
a franchise. Jerry Richardson put this team together, and there were several mechanisms going into making up the personnel for an expansion team. One thing was the expansion draft, where each team had to pick, I think, 3 to 5 players that they weren't going to protect, that the two new teams can pick from.
Okay.
And that's where we got Rod Smith.
Okay.
He was with the New England Patriots. He's a second round draft pick at the time. And so we got a couple of players from the expansion draft. And then there's free agency. But, they would start checking the data on what free agents are available or what guys who recently retired have skills that they need. And they slowly patchworked the team together. And then when they got to the normal NFL draft, that's when they picked Kerry Collins with the first pick,
Okay.
who was very misunderstood. People gave him a lot of crap, but
What was his position on the team?
he was the quarterback.
Okay. And what was his name again?
Kerry Collins.
Kerry Collins. And who coached all of this? Who was the head coach?
Oh, Dom Capers was the first head coach. He had a nice staff, a bunch of crazy guys, but they were good at passing on knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's how we did it. And a lot of the free agents he picked up, like you said, were guys who have been in the league. They needed to fill a position. He's available, and they bring him over. So, all right, they got some veteran leadership, and then in the draft, they got a bunch of newbies.
Yeah.
So,
But they just didn't build the team on a bunch of newbies or
yeah,
whatever.
it had a good cross section.
Yeah. So that's how they were able to achieve that winning really for an expansion team, a winning season,
Mm.
that inaugural season. So this sounds like so much fun and intriguing part of the NFL franchise. Who else from the team stood out to you? Please, just go ahead and share their names and why they stood out.
Sam beat so many odds to make it in the NFL. He played. First of all, he's only like 5'9", which I think could have been like 5'8" and a quarter. How you
Yeah.
sometimes massage the numbers a little bit, but his heart was 6 foot,
Mm-hmm.
and he played his college ball at Montclair State, New Jersey. Big football power.
Where?
So he ended up playing football at a college that saw his size and said, you know, and he got his, I guess you could say, bigger time playing experience at Montclair State, and then he went undrafted in the NFL draft when he graduated, and then the USFL started up. Jim Mora had people that saw Sam play at Montclair State and said, "Don't let his looks fool you. Keep an open mind and just watch him play." So Jim Mora became the coach of the Philadelphia Stars in the USFL,
Okay.
and he hired Sam Mills, and Sam Mills was a lights out defensive player. He was hitting everything on the field, even if they didn't have the ball. Yeah,
There's somebody in front of me.
you
Boom.
know, ball boys, referees.
We'll just clear them all out.
You know,
Let me to that ball.
he just wanted to show that whatever you needed him to do, he was willing to do it. And then after several years, the USFL folded, and then Jim Mora became the head coach of the New Orleans Saints at the NFL. And Jim Mora thought, "That's Sam Mills. He's a good influence. I'm putting him in my locker room." And then when he got there, Ronaldo Turnbull, Ricky Sanders, and I forget the fourth one, but they had four linebackers, and that the starters that made the Saints a tough team. Their defense is called the Dome Patrol
Okay.
because their offense was up and down, but their defense they were tough to score on. It was like a matter of pride.
Yeah.
Our offense may suck, but you ain't gonna score on us either.
So, as a non-football person, would that put Mike into the same position as those guys, or in that they already kind of had those positions shored up of where he would have fit into the team?
Mike,
Not Mike,
Sam.
Sam.
Oh yeah. Well, he was a linebacker through and through. So when they were trying to fill up spots for the linebacker position, Sam was definitely on the list.
Okay. For the Panthers or for the Saints?
Oh, for the Panthers,
Good.
for the Saints,
Okay,
I know he
just a
had
little
him in
kind of.
mind because of what he did in Philadelphia. He was such a good player for him. He goes, "I got to have him on my team here." He was one of the five that was left unprotected, and Coach Capers, who is a defensive-minded person, he knows a good defensive player, and he said, "Well, he might be short, he might be older than the average guy,
Yeah,
but he can outplay all of them."
yeah. And then come to find out he's the one who wins the first game for the Panthers. That's awesome. I love those kind of stories.
Rod Smith was a cornerback as opposed to a quarterback. He played on defense, and there's in most average defenses, there's four defensive backs, a cornerback for each side, and then a strong safety and a free safety.
Okay.
So uh, he was one of the four, and he got to start, I guess, also from his playing experience with the Patriots. But anyway, his first team where he was starting, he played the Miami Dolphins. Dan Marino was the quarterback, who is known to have like the quickest release in the league, and I wouldn't be surprised if he could throw 100-mile-per-hour football
Uh-huh.
because he was good in baseball too. But Rod Smith said they snapped the ball, and he's running out there, and he kind of like has a hand on his hip just so he can kind of monitor where his guy is. And he's like trying to look back. And he said from the time of tapping the guy's hip, looking back and looking back at the guy, the ball was already there.
Oh, wow.
He said he went back to the huddle with his eyes like that. And one of the vets said, "Welcome to the NFL."
So you can't see what Roger was doing, but he made his eyes exaggerate really big, but that ball came in like lickety split, like
Yeah, from the
lightning
looked at
speed.
the guy, looked at Marino, looked back at the guy. The ball was there by the time he looked back at the guy.
Wow.
Last thing he saw was his taillights heading to the end zone.
um, so did what's the
Oh,
guy's
and he
did he tackle the guy? Did he
no, the
take
guy ran for a
Oh,
touchdown.
okay.
It,
Oh well.
uh, Me and a couple other buddies always referred to Rod as the late Rod Smith. And we said, and some people, what? No, he was always late. We'd be down to the facility. He would be the last one in the parking lot 3 minutes before he had to report to an 8 o'clock meeting, and he'd come in on two wheels and slide the car into a parking spot, and he goes running into the building. All you hear is "coming in hot."
uh, so this really gives us a good foundation of the first year, the early times of the team getting started.
Wheezy, Roger gives a lot of color to the early days of the Panthers. In using your living legacy with Wheezy, how would you assist someone to tell their great sports story?
Oh, you know what, Rich? This kind of story, very exciting because I just would love to sink my teeth into guiding somebody to share their own story on video about their not just football, but any sport that they may have been really good at or just wanted to share their experience of being part of a team. There's so much action, reliving those highlight moments in time that you might have that you had in that game or that match of your life. I really love helping people go through that experience and pulling out the elements of a great story, not just the basics, but going beyond so that your listener, the person who's viewing your video, can really feel that experience with you. It is so super simple to find more information on my website, www.livinglegacywithweezy.com. Just reach out if you want to chat with me. Just go through the contact page. But all of this being said, and we're talking about football and great stories and different things. So, Rich, if somebody wanted to follow you on social media, where would they find you?
I'm on Facebook and Instagram at the same name on both, Rich on the Air. That's all one word. Facebook, Instagram. I'm more, I would say if you have both, I'm more active on Instagram, but I would love to connect you if you prefer Facebook. So just go to Rich on the Air. I would be glad to add you as a friend and we can connect that way.
You can follow or subscribe to our podcast and you at any time you want. We would love for you all to do that. But also if you wanted to follow me on the social media platforms, you can find me, Wheezy, at LLW Wheezy, that's WEEZY, on Facebook and Instagram. And we hope you have enjoyed this episode and come back in 2 weeks for our next episode.
We look forward to having you back. Thank you for joining us today. And I had a good time with Roger Wheezy, so thank you for bringing him here to the podcast. And I look forward to seeing you all again when our next episode airs.